In today's video, we're going to be reacting to some of the strangest and scariest videos that I could find on TikTok. Let's get into it.
Imagine you're stuck on the side of the road and you're waiting for assistance, so you decide to go and do a little bit of exploring in the woods near you. That is exactly what this woman decided to do, and unfortunately, it was a bad decision. She captures something watching her from the woods. At first, she can't tell what it is. It seems to be crouching down, and then it stands up. At first, I thought maybe a bear or some other animal, but I don't think this is a bear. Take a look at this footage. Tell me what you think.
It's a snow. The fuck is it, dude? No, it looks like a person, man, but no person. It looks like a fucking person. Stop. I need a person. I need a person. Ah! It just keeps getting up and down, up and down. Stop. Fuck, I can't run. Somebody drive by, somebody drive by.
It's really so grainy and hard to tell what it could be, but it does kind of look like a bear standing to me. And I do not know what would possess anybody to go and explore if they're broken down on the side of the road. Best to either wait for a friend to come and help, accept help from a stranger, or if you have insurance, call AAA and hope for the best. Don't go out there exploring into random people's fields.
This is one hell of a strange glitch. If it even is a glitch. Watch this boy literally appear out of nowhere. It can't be put down to perspective because he'd have to be the Flash to step out from behind someone or something in a millisecond. I'd had to slow down the clip just so you can see just how fast he appears. Watch this.
If this video is not AI generated or video edited, I honestly have no clue where that guy came from. Let me know in the comments, do you think that this is a real video, or do you think it's a hoax?
You do not want to know why this is happening to people, especially if it's more like this. Back in the day, the OG humans actually didn't have to wipe after going to the toilet. They maintained a very high fiber diet, meaning that their you-know-what was very firm. Without going into too much detail, the diet that they followed, plus how the back door used to work, essentially meant it came out firm and they never had to wipe. Now fast forward through history, we started eating other things, discovering other types of foods, meats. I bet you didn't know that these used to actually all be used as toilet roll, especially corn. Yes, this would actually be used. Like, honestly, imagine that. Now, what is my point? Where am I getting to with all of this? Well, people have been talking for a while about ghost wipes. I'm sure you've all had them before. But sometimes it's a ghost wipe, sometimes it's normal, or sometimes you're sat there for hours just going away at it and it just keeps coming. Well, this all links back to these days. That is what a ghost wipe is. Our bodies still work in the same way, we still have the same genetics. So if you're having a ghost wipe, it's most likely because you're eating a very good diet and your stomach is extremely healthy. And if you're sat there wiping for ages and ages, you probably need to change your diet because something's not working.
Whether you needed to wipe or not, I'm sure you had butt hairs down there that collected some kind of nastiness. And I bet that there's probably still some people out there that are like, oh, it's so solid, I don't even need to wipe afterwards, and they probably don't. And that's just nasty. Regardless, the bidet is where it's at.
Alright, file this one under what the freaking crap. Or things they didn't teach us in history class works too. Meet Santiago, the small, strange mummy from Peru that's turning more heads than a UFO sighting at a NASA barbecue would. In all seriousness, he was found near the Nazca lines in Peru, tucked away in diatomaceous earth, preserved like a prehistoric time capsule. With 3 fingers, non-human proportions, and a skull that's let's just say not your average anatomy textbook size. Carbon dating puts him at over 1,000 years old. So if this is a hoax, it's been in the works since like the Middle Ages. CT scans, yes. Full skeleton, organs intact. No wires, no duct tape, no suspicious seams. Furthermore, DNA tests, no match to any known human or animal species on Earth, which is science speak for we don't know what the heck this is. He was even presented to Congress in Mexico. Not exactly something that you would do with a papier-mâché art project. Now, whether this is proof of a lost species, ancient visitors, or something else entirely, well, that's up for debate, but it's hard to ignore. Tell me what your theory is. Alien? Ancient hybrid? Elaborate misdirection? Drop it in the comments. I'm curious what you think.
I've seen this come up on TikTok quite a bit. It's resurfacing news. If all of that is true, where it's been x-rayed, it's got bones, and it's 1,000 years old, that's pretty interesting if it has no DNA shared with any kind of species on this planet. What could it be? Let me know in the comments what you guys think that is. It looks alien, at least from what we've been told aliens look like, but it also looks like a child in a fetal position and it was just frozen in time, basically. It's still really interesting. I can't wait to see a little bit more out of this. Hey, if you haven't done so already and you're enjoying the show, give it a like. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. For everyone that's currently watching and or subscribed, thank you guys so much for supporting the channel.
Fort Delaware State Park.
Fort Delaware is a fortress on Peapatch Island in the Delaware River. Originally built to protect Wilmington and Philadelphia, it became infamous as a POW camp for Confederate soldiers during the Civil War. 33,000 soldiers were imprisoned there, and almost 3,000 of them died from dysentery, scurvy, smallpox, and they're buried in a mass grave in New Jersey.
That explains the smell.
The man in charge of Fort Delaware was General Alban Schuff, who became known as General Terror. With thousands of prisoners kept in makeshift wooden barracks, the conditions were horrible. Bed bugs, lice, and vermin infested the buildings. Food rations were tiny and inedible. Decaying bodies and human waste caused the water to putrefy. These men were starving and dying of thirst. A favorite game of the guards was called rat call. This is where rat holes were flooded and then the rats were caught and killed. A guard would yell rat call and then toss the dead rats into the crowd. And according to an inmate's diary, the prisoners scrambled for the rats like schoolboys for apples. He goes on to say that the rats were cleaned, boiled, and then fried. Their flesh was tender and not unpleasant to the taste. That's a dude who is starving. The diary is from Captain John S. Swan, who was captured in 1864. He chronicles the terrifying daily life as a Confederate prisoner of war. It's fascinating reading. Link where it is.
So he talks about this, he interviews this guy who was abducted. Those like hard working men, that was a logger. They're driving down, this UFO appears out of nowhere through the woods. He was with 6 other guys, tells the guys to stop. He gets out of the truck to like be like, I want to see it before it takes off.
Because he sees this absolutely like glowing UFO floating through the
They're like, get back in the truck, what are you doing? And a light beams down on him. It was like he was electrocuted and like went up like 30 feet in the air, and they freaked out, drove off. So they stopped on the way into town, turned back. He wasn't there, reported it instantly to the sheriff.
They're immediately under suspicion for murder.
Yeah,
you would have to be.
5 days later, he reappears. He thought he was only gone for an hour. When he was on this craft, he woke up. He thought he was in the hospital. He saw what he thought were doctors around him. Vision cleared, and they were alien. Rolled off the table there. He said it looked like a human walked in, and he's like, oh, thank goodness. And the human didn't say anything. And they grabbed him and started putting him down on the table. With all his strength, he was trying to get away. It was like I was doing nothing. Put a mask over me, and then I woke up in the woods. He's like, I don't care. It's like, think whatever you want. He's like, I know it sounds crazy, but I know what I went through. Jeez.
Did y'all see what just happened in Iran? The timing is very coincidental. Now, there's a story going with this whole thing, but I gotta tell you, I don't know, that was a huge blast. And there's like hundreds of people affected so far, people passing away. But like this right here is just absolutely insane. And I'm just wondering how long until we get the real story, especially with the relations of, you know, certain countries involving this one right behind me, you know? But I mean, things all over are just freaking weird. Anti-drone rifles deployed at that funeral, you know, the Vatican and the other guy, the holy guy, their funeral, they had these things. Why? I mean, really, why? You remember that door that was recently opened, and fast forward today, those Dior bags are back in the sky? I'm telling you guys, things are getting really, really freaking weird in 2025. I know I hadn't been posting that much lately, but I'll be back in full time tomorrow. But this guy right behind me, y'all, this guy is neither the Mahdi or the Antichrist. He's been making YouTube videos for years. And it's really weird. He always has that same hat on. But it has been getting weird because he's never talked about Jesus up until this last week. But that's not even the craziest part. What if I told you he was groomed and trained by 3-letter agencies in the United States? We got a lot to go over. We'll start getting back into it tomorrow.
Just dropped my phone. Yeah, there we go. An aesthetic video. My phone flies. Oh. Wrong day to wear white shoes. Eric.
I really didn't hear much. There was a little bit of huffing at the end of the video. I couldn't tell if that's what the noise was, but being that she was calling for someone named Eric or something named Eric, maybe that person or thing was out there playing with them, you know? That's my guess. If not, maybe it was a deer huffing. They kind of sound like that.
Emotions are energy in motion. Emotions determine your frequency, and your attention creates your energetic reality. Anything that tries to take you out of the present moment is siphoning your energy. When you place your attention on past emotions, you're energetically living in the past. And when we focus on future obligations, plans, or you have worries of the future, you're siphoning your energy into the predictable future. The past and the future are just ideas. They're not real. The only thing that is real is the now, and that's the only part of your timeline that you can consciously change your frequency of. The present is where all these timelines collapse, and it's where the body's electromagnetic field is the most powerful and where transformation truly begins. When you're not living in the present, in the now, you're looping yourself into these lower frequencies. You're broadcasting a dense, predictable version of yourself into these fields, anchoring your future to your past. This chart maps emotions as frequencies, each carrying out its own wavelength and energy signature. Elevated emotions like love, joy, freedom have higher frequencies and finer, faster waves. Survival emotions like fear, anger, and shame have slower frequencies and greater densities. They bind us more deeply to the material, memory-based reality. Our emotions are electromagnetic expressions of your internal state. They are moving energy that influences your field, behavior, and biology. When this energy is stuck on old emotions, you are not evolving, you are repeating. You are in motion, but it's a constant loop. Only when you allow the emotions to move through by becoming conscious of it, feeling it, and releasing it, do you change your frequency and create a space for something new. If you think and feel based on memories, you're siphoning your energy out of the now, and your electromagnetic field continues to broadcast the same you. But if you become aware of your feelings, shift your attention to elevate the states like gratitude or joy, and stay in the present, you break the feedback loop and change the frequency you emit, which literally changes your future.
I mean, overall, it's really cool theory. I just disagree a little bit with being depressed as living in the past. And if you're anxious, you're living in the future. That's a really cool quote, but I feel like you could be living in the future if you're depressed also, because sometimes people get depressed thinking about bills and all the upcoming stuff that's about to happen. And it's not necessarily anxiety or angst because they had that handled. It's just aware on their mental state because they constantly have to keep handling it. That causes depression in some people. So wouldn't they be living in the future? I don't know. It's an interesting quote. I kind of like it, but let me know what you guys think about all that in the comments.
It was moving even faster. and blocking out entire fields of stars. It was impossible to estimate its speed. We had no point of reference. With a feigned laugh, I said, "I think that damn thing is headed toward us. I think it's going to sail right over the top of us."
The lights belonged to a triangle-shaped craft now hovering above them, and for some reason, they weren't frightened.
So the lights are, I don't know, a few hundred yards away, and then suddenly, boom, it's over our camp and just hovers there. We were looking right up at the thing. It's as big as a city block. We could hear it humming. Now, you'd think we'd start to panic, but I distinctly recall that while it floated over our campsite, I felt this feeling of calm wash over me. It was a feeling that I'd say was very close to sedation. I don't know how else to describe it. I felt absolutely at ease, just peaceful, calm.
That calm sensation remained even as the spacecraft slowly descended. A beam of white light burst out of the ship. For about 30 seconds, the campsite lit up brighter than the day, and then darkness.
Mount Kailash. It's in the Tibet Autonomous Region, and it's not even on the top 100 highest mountains. No one, as far as we know, in history has ever summited the mountain. There was these men from Siberia in the late 1900s. They're like, we're going to summit this mountain. So they started going up, but they realized hours into the journey that they were aging. So their hair and nails had grown within hours that would equate to them being on the mountain for weeks or months at a time. Not even a year after they climbed this mountain, they all died, and their signs of death were old age, but they're all young dudes, like 20s and 30s. This is what's crazy. In the 1990s, Russian and Siberian scientists started publishing wild research papers claiming that Kailash is a gigantic ancient pyramid. So they believe that Mount Kailash is not natural. They argue its perfect geometric shape and cardinal alignments are too precise for nature. And the hypothesis is that it's a massive ancient pyramid, possibly the oldest and largest on Earth.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And
no one has ever officially reached the summit.
Yeah, all the four major religions around it, they all respect it. They don't agree on their religions, right? But they all agree that there's something to this mountain.
Manufacturing and Antichrist. Are y'all ready to find out who this really is? He's getting a lot of followers lately, but there's a reason for that. Let's go down the rabbit hole. And I'm telling you, you have to see this. There are many things on search engines you cannot find unless you know how to do the workarounds. Last night, I alleged that he was working for certain agencies, United States, Middle East, all over the place. He's not necessarily a fraud. I mean, he is, but he's just doing a job that he was given. A job that he was forced into? It's very probable. Let me show you what I found. So let's start with the basics. As I told you last night, he didn't just pop out of nowhere. He's been making videos for years. But before that, he was making movies and documentaries. But the biggest thing that I see in this is the timing of the come up. You remember what happened last week with someone passing away? I really do wonder how someone who was failing at YouTube could get a global push. What's this behind me? He is the director of this movie, The Arrival, which goes into the Antichrist, the jaw, religion, and all of this stuff. And would you believe me if I didn't say he's trying to fuse the religions into one? Put an end to dividing lies, let the truth be known, trying to expose the plans of Satan and his followers by providing details and proofs, the way they control our lives and mind and bind us from the truth and the worship of one God. So what was this guy doing between 2008 and 2012? His explicit online films probe the hidden agendas of greedy corporations, governments, media, fashion, movies, celebrity, food, drugs, blank to control people. Talking about secret societies and blank flag events and the establishment of the new order. And if you don't want to see me dance around these words like a 4-year-old, go to the red play button. So now what we have is this guy who current day is trying to act like he's the offspring of the main characters of religion, so we should listen to him. He's also been exposing and whistleblowing at the same time making these documentaries on religion. Here's where it gets crazy. With many people seeking to silence me and destroy my mission after I moved to Egypt, so he's not originally from Egypt, he moved to Egypt and learned that the 3-letter agency of the United States raided his house and his former web admins living in the United States. Seized all computer materials relating to his old site, which by the way is down and expired. And I believe that this was like 2012 to 14. So now we have this documentary filmmaker, religious leader who's being raided and targeted by certain agencies. Abdullah versus the New Something Order. Now, this is someone that was familiar with his work. Abdullah used to work with the Noriega and something on the Wake Up Project, and he helped them create the arrival. Suddenly, he moved to Egypt and became a follower of Ahmed, the man claiming to be the Yamani. What do you think? Have you ever watched his videos? Wait. So you mean to tell me that after the raid and interrogations, all of a sudden, he moved to Egypt and he claimed to be some religious leader? It gets crazier because he was apparently doing some stuff in Jordan, and DAWN recently documented the case of several activists targeted by the GID that were trying to change the government in Jordan, and guess what? He was one of them. And I believe he went to school in Indiana University. He's more like my ethnicity than in the Middle East. So we got two options. He was either deceived, then bribed, and overtaken by these 3-letter agencies, and 5-letter agencies, over there. Or even his filmmaking and his story makes him seem more credible, as if he was on our side. And by the way, if anyone falls for the religion fusion that he's trying to do, this is what their holy book describes their guy looks like. Be very careful who you listen to. And by the way, he says America is the Antichrist, right? Well, if you know what America really is, and if you realize that these agencies know a lot more than you do, especially about history, maybe you should tap into some historical commentary on the scripture from a couple hundred years ago. You might surprise yourself.
This guy's been blowing up all over the internet. And to be honest, I've never heard of him until just about a couple days ago. And now that's all you see. To me, most religious or people that have a following of religion with that kind of power doesn't seem real to me anyways. It just almost all seems like a media stunt, just to gain views, attention, and probably money from the views and the attention. Not to mention, they still gain a following, people that actually believe who and what they say they are. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about all of this. I don't really have too much to say because it's all still kind of new to me. Like I said, do not even know who that person was until just a couple of days ago. But from the vibes that I get, it doesn't seem genuine.
A lot of people think that the chakras are not real. They're just a myth, right? But I have an interesting theory. This is my unified energy theory on the chakra system and why so many people don't believe in the chakras. Yes, the chakras are real, but they are dependent on energy flow. The chakras are electromagnetic transformers, or energy centers. They need a strong, steady current, internal electricity to spin and function properly. Without enough energy, they stay dormant or offline, just like the fan in your room. If you don't have the switch flipped, it stays off. Voltage in the body is measured in pH. pH measures electrical potential in liquid. Our body is 70 to 80% structured liquid. This is in the form of intracellular water, plasma, and lymph. A higher, more alkaline pH equals higher voltage, more electrical charge available to run through the body's circuits. An acidic diet lowers the pH and lowers the voltage, meaning there is literally not enough energy to activate the chakras. A pH of 7 equals a neutral voltage, 0 millivolts. Every step more alkaline, a pH of 8, a pH of 9, equals more usable energy. Grounding is mandatory for this system to work. Any electrical system needs a ground wire to safely discharge excess charge and stabilize its current. The human ground is simply putting your bare feet on the earth. Without grounding, excess energy creates chaos. The circuits, the chakras, can fry, causing anxiety, burnout, kundalini sickness, inflammation, and nervous system overload. Modern day humans have been disconnected on purpose. Through an acidic diet, through chronic EMF exposure, through shoes because they created polyurethane soles. We used to have leather shoes and we just could ground when we were walking, but they took that away from us. Emotional trauma will also cause energetic blockages. When you have low voltage and no ground, the chakras cannot function. People are energetically deadened and can't feel their natural systems. And this makes the whole chakra system seem fake. It's not that the chakras aren't real, it's that people don't have the internal electrical environment to experience them. It's like giving someone a TV without a plug. Without the electrical charge, they won't work. If you want to feel the chakras naturally, you need to 1. Raise your voltage and alkalize your body. 2. Establish grounding, go outside and touch grass, and you need to clear your blockages. When you do that, the chakras activate automatically because you're finally running enough clean, stabilized current through the system. In summary, pH equals voltage. Voltage plus a liquid equals a current. The chakras need a steady current. Diet and environment destroy voltage. Lack of grounding will destabilize the current. The result is the chakras not functioning, and that results in disbelief. Restore your voltage, start grounding, and the chakras will awaken. And when your chakras awaken, your higher consciousness is unlocked. The reactivating of the chakras is simply the reactivating of the human electrical body. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace and love, y'all. Yeah.
We now have new evidence of what actually happens when we die, and let's just say it's pretty damn crazy. This is one of the most insane things I've ever heard, and it will keep you up all night. People have been talking about this a lot online recently, so let's dive into it. So you may have seen the research that came out recently, or even from one of my videos talking about what actually happens when we die. Long story short, scientists did some research and we actually genuinely know what happens after death. Put simply, when you die, your brain is still active. They tested this out on a man who had just passed away. For around 8 minutes after death, your brain is still functioning and actually processing memories like dreams. Now, there's always been the theory of flashes before your eyes, and do you rewatch your life when you die? Well, maybe you do. I've said that for a while, talked about the theory, but maybe you watch it in a different way. Ever wondered why your cat, or cats in general, just stare and stare and stare? Sitting there, watching, observing? Well, what people have been saying online recently is that when you pass away and you're in that 7 or 8 minute state, you are indeed rewatching your life and processing memories that have happened before. But you're not just watching them from some sort of theatre, you're observing them in real time as your family pet. Now, trust me, I know, this sounds absolutely insane, and it probably is, but this has been going viral on social media recently, and a lot of people have been speculating about it, potentially even linking with the belief of reincarnation, which a lot of people believe in. I really do not know what to think of this, but let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll keep you updated.
It's interesting, and I definitely don't doubt that that is the science that probably happens behind it, if you have a brain. But if you just completely lost your head, like it just splatted, no brain, no matter whatsoever, or what if you have not lived a long life, or you're not fully conscious of life, then you have no memories or anything to even go off of. But I bet it's a terrifying experience, one that I will now label as a death dream. Wouldn't want to experience any of that.
Oh, you already know we gotta talk about this. Giant megastructures found beneath the pyramids of Giza. You heard that right. Long lost civilization kinda confirmed. I really wonder if debunkers ever get tired of being wrong. Let's summarize everything about this find so far. I waited long enough before talking about it so enough info could come out and we could find out what's really going on. On March 16th, 2025, a conference was held in Italy discussing some new findings about the pyramids of Giza using a revolutionary non-invasive scanning technology called synthetic aperture radar Doppler tomography. Yeah, try saying that 5 times fast. Or SAR for short. It's sort of like an X-ray radar type scanner that uses sound waves to penetrate the surface and see what's beneath it. And they found something beneath the middle pyramid of Khafre at the Giza Plateau, which initiated the Khafre project. The new scans show massive cylindrical structures that extend from the bottom of the pyramids way deep down into the bedrock below the surface. Pillars that appear to have some sort of wrapping coils or maybe pathways around them and go 648 meters underground. That's taller than the CN Tower, the Empire State Building, double the height of the Eiffel Tower, not to mention over 4 times the height of the pyramid itself. This is how it would look like to scale. At the very bottom of these pillars are 2 huge 80 by 80 meter cubes, which are said to go down even further, reaching up to 2 kilometers beneath the surface. 2 kilometers. That's 1.25 miles down for all you Americans. The scans show there to be at least 8 of these cylindrical wells arranged in 2 rows and just completely blows our understanding of dynastic Egyptians out of the water. The crazy conspiracy nuts may have been right this entire time. Now, what's really special about these synthetic aperture radar scans that led to this discovery is that they can be taken from a satellite. Unlike traditional ground-penetrating radar, which also shows us X-ray-like scans of what's beneath the surface, which requires the equipment to be used on the ground, and would hence also need special permission to be used in these ancient sites of interest. And we know ancient sites like Giza are very heavily guarded by certain gatekeepers. These can be taken from satellites in orbit, or even drones in the sky, meaning they have free range to scan virtually anywhere in the world, and don't require permission from the authorities of those ancient sites to investigate them, potentially ushering in a new era of independent researchers of those ancient sites that would have otherwise not been allowed to do so. We do have LiDAR drones which can take scans of the surface from the air, but those can't penetrate to see what's underground. This SAR technology was previously mainly used on volcanoes and other natural geological formations, but these guys right here, Filippo Biondi and Corrado Malanga, have brought it into the archaeological world, which they use not only to see what's under the Giza plateau, but create 3D models of the pyramids as well, revealing 5 more previously unheard of chambers along the base of the Pyramid of Khafre, each with 5 horizontal levels and a sloping roof. The same structure as the main King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid, 5 more of which were now found in another pyramid. These 5 chambers appear to be connected by intricate pathways right above the 8 vertical pillars, and is why some believe the spirals may perhaps be staircases. The researchers behind this discovery themselves claim these structures are not only below the middle pyramid, but the entire Giza plateau, with a complex underground network of structures, pathways, and chambers that interconnect all of the main pyramids, including Khafre, Khufu, and Menkaure, which, reminder, the data suggests may reach down up to 2 kilometers below the surface. This is insane. Was this meme right the entire time? Now, these 3D renderings of the structures are just artistic depictions based on the data, and may not actually look anything like this. It's just a guess. But regardless of how they really look, there's just no way that dynastic Egyptians 4,000 years ago, or even more, could have built anything as sophisticated and enormous as this using the technology we know they had at the time. Given how incredibly monumental and complex these structures are, there's also no way these would have been built for aesthetic or even ritualistic purposes. Everyone agrees something like this would have been built for a more functional, perhaps a mechanical or even energy-related function, like the Giza power plant theory. A theory that suggests the pyramids harnessed the natural vibrations of the earth and converted them into energy used by the Egyptian Empire, or a more advanced civilization that existed there far, far before them. Christopher Dunn's Giza power plant theory does suggest there was some sort of mechanism that captured the natural resonances of the earth deep below the pyramids, which were then converted through a series of chambers and special processes to produce energy. And I mean, what better way to capture Earth's vibrational energy than by going 2 kilometers down below the surface, transmitting it upwards into the pyramids through long cylindrical wells with pathways that wrap around them that do seem to somewhat resemble a Tesla coil, a known transmitter of electricity, linking it to Nikola Tesla's attempt to capture energy from deep within the earth and transmit it wirelessly around the world for free through his Wardenclyffe Tower project, which he made no secret was inspired by the pyramids that he believed held a similar function, suggesting this could be further evidence that the pyramids were once in fact part of an ancient global energy grid. A crazy nonsense fringe theory that this find sorta does support. The researchers behind this find themselves suggest that a vast underground city exists beneath the pyramids, and is exactly what we're looking at with their scans, where the legendary Hall of Records of lost pre-Atlantean knowledge is rumored to be found, and they even insist these structures could be up to 38,000 years old. Myths of underground cities beneath the Giza Plateau and the Sphinx have been circulating for centuries. We've even caught glimpses of incredible finds deep beneath the surface of Egypt, only for them to get closed up and swept under the rug all the time, like the discovery of chambers beneath the Sphinx that leading Egyptian authorities like Zahi Hawass himself bragged about and then later denied. Or the Tomb of the Birds, NC2, just off to the side, believed to be an entrance to this underground complex, but is now of course sealed and off limits. I don't think I even need to tell you that Egyptologists like Zahi Hawass and all your favorite internet Google debunkers are all calling this find complete nonsense, based on the fact that the abstract this discovery was based on was from an independent research team and not peer-reviewed, so therefore it must not be real. And you already know that even if it does get peer-reviewed by the experts, they're just gonna vehemently deny it like they've done with any other find of this nature. Also claiming that the SAR scanning technology is too new, isn't very accurate, and doesn't even go that deep. So the team actually tested it on the Osiris shaft, a known subterranean tunnel system in the Giza Plateau. And well, it was pretty accurate, mapping the shaft to a high level of detail, which we can confirm is what it actually looks like. SAR doesn't seem to be as unreliable as they claim. Through this test scan, they even stumbled upon what they claim to be an unopened sarcophagus deep in the Osiris shaft, among many other new previously unheard of tunnels. tunnels. Seriously, it's like every time someone scans something in the Giza Plateau, they find something new. Discoveries like these that completely shatter the narrative and go against everything that archaeology has been preaching for years does kind of require outside independent researchers to come in and shake things up, instead of relying on the jaded career archaeologists who have been taught and teach a certain paradigm for their entire lives. The next step here would be to go on the ground and perform more in-depth scans with ground penetrating radar to get a better picture of what's really going on. But there's just one thing you'd need in order to do that: permission from the gatekeepers. And somehow I don't think they're gonna let anyone do that anytime soon, because every time we do make a discovery like this, it gets mocked, downplayed, and swept over, just like Göbekli Tepe, another narrative altering ancient site they're excavating at a snail's pace and outright destroying it in the process. If there really were powers that be who want to control a certain narrative, it would be for good reason. They want to keep the public calm and in control. But if that's the case, discoveries like these will always get debunked, and anyone who supports them will get mocked and get called liars and frauds, as I'm sure my beloved debunkers are in the comments. In my opinion, it's our duty as independent thinkers to always question what we're told is real and keep our minds open, or we'll forever live blinded to what's really out there.
I am really excited to see future updates on this pyramid megastructure that's possibly under the pyramid, but with just like everything else, it gets held back and it's fed to us through entertaining ways. So we'll probably really never learn anything about what's underneath that pyramid, but they'll talk about what could possibly be underneath it for a long time, until it gets really old and boring and nobody cares about it anymore, and then the next big discovery of the pyramids will happen. That's just what it seems like to me, but I am entertained, so let's see what the future holds for us on this one. And if you have any theories of what it could be, let me know in the comments, because they're so fun to read. Alright guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end today's video. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching these clips with me, and with that being said, have a good day.